2:20 a.m., the North Atlantic. The temperature is bone-chilling 28 degrees Fahrenheit. In this very moment, the world's grandest floating palace is sliding into the abyss. Around it, nothing but chaos, screams, and death. Thousands of people are struggling in the ice-cold water. Their bone-shattering cries pierce the silence of the night. The ship they called the Unsinkable, the one they claimed even God couldn't sink, is now nothing more than a toy in the hands of nature. But here's the thing. The story of Titanic's watery grave isn't as simple as you think. We all know the iceberg was the culprit. But what if I told you the Titanic's fate was sealed long before it ever hit that ice? What if a deadly trap was hidden inside the ship, burning for days right under the passengers' feet? And what about that mysterious phantom ship that watched the Titanic sink from a distance and then just sailed away? Who did it belong to? Friends, today on Panchanama with Fact, we're traveling back to that night 114 years ago. We aren't just here for a history lesson. We're looking for answers to the mysteries that still lie at the bottom of the ocean. I'm Sraban, and you're watching Panchanama with Fact. Let's dive in. April 14, 1912. 11:40 p.m. The sea is dead calm. The stars are reflecting off the water like a mirror. But this peace was just the calm before the storm. Frederick Fleet, the Titanic's lookout, suddenly spots a massive black shadow emerging from the darkness. He rings the warning bell 3 times and screams into the phone. "Iceberg right ahead!" First Officer Murdoch desperately tries to steer the ship away. Engines are reversed. The wheel is turned hard to port. The massive Titanic slowly, painfully slowly begins to turn. For a second, it looks like they'll make it. But then, a long, grinding sound. The iceberg scrapes against the starboard side. Most passengers thought it was just a minor bump. No one knew that slight contact had just opened a 300-foot gash in the Titanic's hull. The countdown to disaster had begun. But a major question remains. Why didn't Frederick Fleet see that iceberg sooner? Here's where the story takes a weird turn. Imagine you're the lookout for the most expensive ship in the world, and you don't even have binoculars. Sounds crazy, right? But it's true. Just before the Titanic left Southampton, there was a last-minute crew change. Second Officer David Blair was replaced. In his rush to leave, he accidentally kept a key in his pocket. It wasn't just any key. It was the key to the locker containing the lookout's binoculars. Experts say that if they had those binoculars, they would have seen the iceberg at least 30 to 60 seconds earlier. Those few seconds would have been enough to save 1,500 lives. The tragedy actually started 10 days before the ship even sailed. While traveling from Belfast to Southampton, a fire broke out in a coal bunker in boiler room number 6. This was a spontaneous combustion fire. Thousands of tons of coal were smoldering. As passengers boarded, they had no idea they were stepping onto a ticking time bomb. The owners knew about the fire, but they kept it quiet to protect the company's reputation. The heat was so intense that the steel walls of the ship turned red hot and became brittle. The iceberg struck the ship at that exact weakened spot. Modern researchers believe that if the fire hadn't happened, the hull might have actually held. The fire had weakened the steel by nearly 75%. Titanic was called unsinkable because of its 16 watertight compartments. But there was a fatal design flaw. These watertight walls were only about 10 feet above the waterline and weren't sealed to the ceiling. Think of it like an ice cube tray. If you tilt it and fill one slot, the water just spills over into the next one. As the first 5 compartments filled, the water simply spilled over the walls into the dry ones, dragging the bow down. If those walls had reached the ceiling, the Titanic might have stayed afloat long enough for rescue ships to arrive. There's also the mystery of the phantom ship. While the Titanic was sinking, the crew fired distress rockets. Passengers could see the lights of another ship just 10-15 miles away. They tried to signal it, but the ship never responded and eventually vanished into the dark. Was it the SS Californian? Their captain, Stanley Lord, claimed they were stuck in ice and the radio operator was asleep. But his crew saw the rockets. Why didn't they move? Or was there a third ship? A Norwegian sealer called the Samson that fled because they were hunting illegally and didn't want to get caught. The coincidences are chilling. 14 years before the sinking, a writer named Morgan Robertson wrote a book called Futility about a ship named the Titan. It was the same size, hit an iceberg in April, and didn't have enough lifeboats. Was it a coincidence or a premonition?
And then there are the conspiracy theories. Some believe the ship that sank was actually the Olympic, the Titanic's damaged sister ship, as part of a massive insurance fraud. Others point to J.P. Morgan, the owner, who mysteriously canceled his trip at the last minute, while his biggest business rivals, all of whom opposed the Federal Reserve, died on the ship. Despite the chaos, there was incredible bravery. Wireless operators Jack Phillips and Harold Bride stayed at their posts until the very end, sending out SOS signals. Meanwhile, in a tragic display of classism, many third-class passengers were allegedly kept behind locked gates, preventing them from reaching the lifeboats. At 2 a.m., the Titanic broke in two and disappeared. But some stories defy logic, like Charles Joffin, the chief baker, who survived 3 hours in the freezing water because he had drunk so much whiskey that it actually kept his body from going into shock. And of course, the legend of the cursed mummy in the cargo hold, though no official record of it exists. Was it the iceberg, a missing key, a hidden fire, or a phantom ship that turned its back on 1,500 people? The Titanic is slowly being eaten away by bacteria at the bottom of the Atlantic. In 20 to 30 years, it'll be gone. But the questions it left behind, those will haunt us forever. What do you think was the biggest mistake? Let me know in the comments. That's it for today. I'm Straban. Stay tuned to Panchanama with Fact. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.